This is Rebel Studio. There is no legal law that says that U.S. citizens of the United States government, in which that's what they consider us as under the all caps name, corporate U.S. citizens, which are not tied to a human being. Look up the definition for citizen and persons. They're not tied to a natural human being. They're used for inanimate objects. There's no legal law that states in our right to stand our ground that we cannot do that. We do not have that right to stand our ground against our servants, those who are there to serve us. They are being disobedient to their bosses, their masters. Because as our servants, we are their masters, their bosses. And they do not have a right to be pulling their guns out and just willy-nilly shooting us. They may claim they have some sort of qualified immunity, but there's no legal law that gives them the legal right to do this. This is man putting stuff on paper and then everyone consenting and saying, yes, I agree. Yes, you can do that to them. That I see you doing that too. But you know what? It's going to come around and it's going to happen to you also. Because we are all the same. Anyone that is not in a uniform, not called a law enforcement officer, not a government employee, is not one of them. They're a cult, a gang, a mafia. This government is a corporate mafia organization. They work just like the mafia. If you watch all those old mafia movies, and any TV shows that they may have made of like mafia, but just didn't seem to be as serious to make fun of it. To lighten it up so they can get away with being a mafia type organization. Raping and stealing from the public. Because they're all getting busted. Every one of them, no matter what they're called, FBI, they're all getting caught, because most of them, it's damn near all of them got caught up in all kinds of sorts of bad stuff. So, our servants does not have the legal right and or the legal authority from their masters to them, our servants. We have not actually given them that legal authority. Everything is done through consent. Getting our permission. Saying things by using extortion against us, of coercion, threats of violence, threats of kidnapping and engagement, because that's what it is. They're kidnapping us and engaging us because we ain't complying with our servants. I mean, they're either our servants or we are their slaves. One or the other. There's only two classes. The oppressors and the oppressed. Look at who all's out there. Natural, regular Americans being oppressed, being beaten down. Innocent people mistaken identity. Beaten down by plainclothes supposed cops. I mean, they don't even identify as who they are because they now don't have to, because they say, well, they don't have to admit to a drug dealer that they're a cop because they're trying to. That's entrapment. They entrapped a poor man who thought he was being robbed to run. And once he ran, they had him. They had their right to beat his ass in their mind. It's in their mind. It's not a legal right given to them by God. It's in their mind that they have that, legal right. That imaginary legal right of an imaginary government, of imaginary politicians, mayors, governors, all imaginary. Just like church, and they say God. When people say God's imaginary, you have to believe in order for him to exist. Well, it's the same with government. You have to believe in order for government to exist. And you have to say, yes, it exists. I consent to it, to saying, yes, it exists. I see it. It exists when it's not there. If there were no preachers, if there were no kings, queens, princes, princesses, politicians, governors, all that crap. If there was nobody to get in for that, none of that was there for anyone to say, yeah, I want to get a job in that, like Burger King. If it wasn't there, it don't exist. If it ain't here now, it wasn't here in the past, well, it don't exist. I ain't thought of it. It didn't come up out of somebody's mind yet. I mean, it don't just go poof, and it exists like all this other stuff does. Sand, it just exists. This planet, water, and everything that we don't make, that we haven't made, that was original on this planet, poof, it was here, just like us. Poof, we're here. We're real. They're imaginary. We gotta get out of there, another man's imaginary fairy tale, utopia, whatever the hell they want to call it, world. Government, politics, imaginary. There would be no politics without, if this imaginary government, politicians didn't even exist. Think about it, politicians. And then they take off the I-A-N, and the S, just because it's sometimes S, if you don't, grouping them, politicians. Take all those last 3, 4 off, and you have politics. And, we call it politics. And y'all just bought into all that, I believe it, Stockholm Syndrome, I worship you, you're my master, you're not my servant anymore, you're my master, you took over us just all of a sudden at the end of a barrel of a government gun, a government assault weapon. They can have them, but we can't. They can be brutal, but we can't. They can cuss us out, but we can't cuss them out. They can touch our private properties and stuff and burst into our homes and stuff, but we can't go to theirs and do the same thing to them for public arrest. We have to rise the public to arrest these people as a public. But they don't like us grouping up because then they go, white supremacists, or what is that? Like Antichrist, and well, it's the same thing with government. You have Antichrist, and then you have anti-government. We're just anti being ruled over. That's all it is. Anarchy. Anti being ruled over. No man has a higher claim over me and can just control me, my life, my property, where I can go, what I can do, what I can have, what I can't have, what I can put in my body, or vessel. What I can put in my vessel. A body is a dead individual that's no longer alive. This is a vessel. It's a living vessel that's got a soul inside of it. Because your vehicle that they call, or your vessel that they call your vehicle, motor vehicle, is a vessel. And when you start it, you get in it, like your soul is in your vessel here, is inside. When you get inside of that vessel, you start it up, and it starts up and runs, and it can go around. It's a vessel. It's carrying you. This vessel is carrying your soul. This is carrying my soul. Yours is carrying your soul. Your vessel is your soul's private property. Nobody, no man has the right by God to just grab another soul's vessel and do as they please with it. There's no legal law that gives any authority, legal authority, to touch your vessel, to grab and do as they please with your vessel, just willy-nilly, and take and turn your vessel with labels and stuff into something else that it is not. And you are allowing it through consent. Period. Stop giving them consent. Stop giving them permission to attach that all caps name they have onto you. Just stop. That's all you gotta do. Everybody can do it. We don't have to come together as a group, go up here and say we're going, no. No, we individually, we all do it, and eventually there'll be so many that does it that they'll have to stop. There's nothing they can do. Because they can't arrest you for not complying. They don't have that legal authority. They cannot arrest you for not IDing if you haven't committed a crime, created a victim, which is a real crime, creating a victim. You don't have to ID. They have state laws on ID. You can look them up. Educate yourself. Stop believing them. They're lying to you. Cops are allowed to lie to us, their masters, but we better not lie to our servants or our masters, as we are their slaves, apparently. Fuck. This is Rebel Studio.